Hi, filter class. This is my finished layout where I did use the chalk and charcoal filter. For the first time, I'm actually doing this in the full version of Photoshop, but for those of you who have followed along on all of my other filter tutorials as Photoshop Elements users, you should be able to easily do this in your program also. Let's deconstruct this just a little bit by turning off layers. So I have these beginning layers. They are the little hearts that are disappearing that I trailed along everywhere. Then I have the buttons have disappeared. So those are my accents. Then I believe it's the stitching layers and the little doodle. So next comes the text, and now we are kind of down to the basics, the nitty-gritty of what made it kind of a cool layout. And it's basically just 4 layers from here. Let me turn them off and rebuild it. We have our background layer, and then we have our layer where I applied the chalk and charcoal to it, and I added a layer mask, and I've kind of used the layer mask to blend that chalk and charcoal into the background. I'm going to hold down the Alt key. This is in the Fun Extras class. If you want to take it, hold down the Alt key and click on the layer mask, and you can see how crazy the layer mask looks. But that was used to blend it into the background, and then I added just a little bit of a paper layer on top of that as a matte. I gave it a drop shadow, made it a soft light. See, you can see what it looks like normal, and then made it a soft light, and it kind of blended into that. And then from my original photo, I just cut out part of his face, and I kind of offset it over here. So that was the basics of my layout, and we can actually turn back on the rest of the layers so you can look at it again. Of course, I've got the all-important journaling on there. I always stress how important it is to journal. So there's my finished layout again. So let's look at the charcoal and chalk filter. And my little Miss Tizzy is over there barking. She wants full attention. So there's my original photo, and I've made a copy of it already for us to play on. Now the chalk and charcoal filter does use the foreground and the background colors. Now the charcoal uses the foreground color, and this is very hard to remember, and the chalk uses the background color. Now if you don't use this very often, that's very hard, confusing, and as most of the filters are, you just get in there and play with them till you get something you like. Now it is helpful to have the background color, the chalk color, a little bit lighter than the charcoal color, because this one affects the shadows, so you want the shadows to become lighter, and the foreground color, the charcoal, affects the highlights. And so you're gonna get kind of an odd thing if you don't have the background color lighter than the foreground color. Now in my case, for this demonstration, of course I have no idea what settings I used on my original layout to tell you, but just so that to teach you, to show you the differences so you can clearly see it, I've picked a blue and a green totally opposite. That way you can see it working. It might not be what I would actually do in my layout. I'm sure I did something much more subtle. Probably, I believe I pulled some of the blues and the blacks or grays out of the layout when I made when I made this. So go to, with your photo layer as your active layer or whatever you're using, go to the filter drop down menu. Now for the Photoshop Elements users, you're going to go down here to your sketch, which that is not in the full version of Photoshop. You don't see that, but you'll go down to sketch and then over to charcoal and chalk and charcoal. Say that 5 times fast. And in the full version of Photoshop, this is actually like CS6 or CC. You just go directly to the filter gallery. Now let me make this smaller so it's on my recording screen so you all can see it. There we go. When you click on it in Photoshop Elements, it opens up the filter gallery. If you want to know more about the filter gallery, that is in the very first lesson. So go to the website and watch the very first lesson. And here we go. You see here the green and the blue. Now I have right now the charcoal turned way up. I'm going to turn them all down. This slider affects the charcoal and this one affects the chalk. You remember that the charcoal is the blue, which is the foreground color, so it's pretty easy to remember, foreground, background. They kind of go in order here. But the charcoal makes its lines from the left down to the right in this direction. So, and the charcoal is affecting, it looks like, I might have said that backwards earlier. It looks like the charcoal is affecting the dark areas, and so you want your foreground color darker because it's affecting the shadows, the dark areas of the photo. Make the eye invisible. His hair obviously is dark, so it's really being affected by the dark areas. If you look at the background, this dark area is being affected. Same with his shirts. So you look here, this is the white, which of course is the highlights of the photo, and the highlights are going to be on these little cheeks. So you see the cheeks are highlighted, so that's the green. So you can bring up the charcoal, the shadow areas, which are the foreground color, and make them, you just play like we do with all the others. You notice if I bring it all the way up, it brings from the shadows and affects more and more till it gets to the highlighted areas. And let's turn that all the way down and watch the chalk work, the green, which is the highlighted areas. And the more you bring it up, the more it goes into the darker areas. Now you see this is a little bit more visible. You can see that this is going this direction, from the bottom left to the upper right, or the upper right to the bottom left, whichever way you want to go. So the charcoal goes this direction and the chalk goes this direction, which is really cool because if you want to combine them sometimes, you will get a little like crosshatch look. I'm not quite getting it with this. But then we have the stroke pressure, which also changes it, and just play with it and see what you get. Obviously, that's really too much stroke pressure. If I change these to black and white, let's see what we get. Remember, we want the first color to be darker, so we're going to do kind of a real dark gray, and then we're going to kind of do a light gray, and we're going to go back into the filter and see what we get. So this is more, you normally think of the chalk as black and white chalk or shades of gray chalk. So this is actually more realistic. And somewhere in here in the middle, having them very similar, you can see a little bit more of the crosshatch, them combining. So you just play with it until you get something and click OK. I'm going to undo that, and I'm going to go in and make that actually a little bit more. Let's see. So we see more lines. Ooh, I like right in there with all the lines. So there we go, more of a chalk filter. Now I have my original photo underneath because I had made a duplicate, and you can play with it and play with the blending modes and see what happens. So there's the original, and there's really brought out different. Look at the, let me zoom in. See the face? Looks almost like it's been painted. Let's see, multiply. Ooh, kind of cool. Soft light, always is a nice one. Just kind of go through them and see. Of course, hard mix, I never know what people do with it. Oh, divide, that made for kind of a cool effect. So if you're doing this on something other than somebody's face, you can really, like a still photo like of an apple. I like that one there. Vivid light did something cool to his face. Lighten, that's kind of cool. But remember, each time you change this, and I'm going to run the filter again, see what happens. Ooh, look what happened. Now what's it look like? Not quite as good. Weird. But like I said, use it on still photos more than people, which is why I used it and applied it in this manner, because we have the charcoal effect around here blending it into the background. But when I added the original face, because it doesn't look good on faces, it allowed kind of this look of it changing down into the feet. Just kind of getting artistic. And there we have it. There's our finished layout again. So that is the chalk and the charcoal filter, and I would love to see what you do with this. Please drop by the forum into the class and share it, or upload it to Flickr and let me know. Post right on YouTube. Just I'd love to see what you do, and I'd love to see your layout. Tag me, put it on my Facebook page, which is facebook.com/digital scrapbooking. I'm everywhere. Just find me and let me know. Send me an email, whatever you want. I want to see what you do. But I also invite you to join the classes and go through all of the tutorials in order. Bye now.